Good morning, everyone. You can tell those who are following their script properly and those who might be new. And of course, welcome to everyone at home joining us from all around the world. I'm very excited. I just actually flew in last night from Albuquerque. As many of you know, I was at a conference. I was at the International Tai Chi Cha Conference in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so it was really an amazing event, and I really enjoyed myself. And somebody was asking me earlier about this little blanket, because it's not really that cold in here, but I started putting this on because we discovered through a couple Facebook messages, and also our dear visual specialist, Eric, let me know that when I cross my legs and if I wear dark pants and I don't have this on there, it looks like I'm levitating on the TV. And people going, how is he doing that? However, it's working. We gained 500,000 new visual followers. So I started putting this on just so it didn't look so odd. But while I was in Albuquerque at the Tai Chi Cha conference, it was truly amazing. People from all over the world, Belize and Puerto Rico and Europe and England. It was really a very amazing experience. Both Lorraine Lepin, who is my Tai Chi Cha teacher, who teaches with me here at Temple Buddhist Center on Tuesday evenings, we went together. And so I came back last night, and the whole experience, and I even put a photograph up there, and that'll mean more to you here in a few minutes as I talk about it. The experience really was quite joyful, and to be able to mix with teachers and practitioners and elders from all over the world was just truly an expansive feeling and experience for me. Not to mention giving away boxes of Temple Buddhist Center stickers to everybody there, including hotel staff. So, we're spreading the joy one sticker at a time, right? So, several times during the week, I was deeply touched at this conference in some cases, by stories of transformation. People that had talked to me and were sharing their stories of growth and transformation through contemplative practices, contemplative arts. There was, at one point, the conference, there was about 150 of us there. And at one point, they passed the hat in the conference. And this was for the catering staff that had been supplying us with breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the week. And we passed the hat, and we raised almost $500, and we brought the staff out during one of our lunches and said, this money is for you guys to give to them. And there was only about 6 or 7 of them, and one of the young ladies started weeping. It was so touching, because no one had ever done that for them before. And so, again, that's the kind of community that we are building. That's the kind of heart that we are cultivating and expanding together as a Sangha, whether it's a Sangha in Albuquerque practicing Tai Chi Cha, or here practicing meditation and Buddhist practices and so forth. And so, but I think what probably touched me just as deep, if not even more deeply, were the morning Tai Chi Cha practices, where for an hour we would gather outside in the crisp morning air about 7 a.m. down there in Albuquerque under the Sandia Mountains, and 150 teachers in just silence would move together. And it was just the most amazing feeling to be all together moving exactly at the same time, going through the 19 forms and the single pose of Tai Chi Cha, just this moving together in silence. And it stood in such a stark contrast to the division in the world, to the division in our country, sometimes even in our city, and oftentimes even within our own being. And so that's kind of the basis for my talk today, is much of what is taking place around in our practice, and in stark contrast to the world, which we often feel. And people are often coming to me and just saying, Victor, man, there's so much going on. I feel so, ungrounded. And that's why I wanted to talk today a little bit about our three centers of consciousness. Our three centers of consciousness. And I'm taking a lot of this from a blog that Robert wrote about 4 years ago on this exact same topic. And I didn't feel it necessary to reinvent the wheel, but to add into this blog that he wrote about our three centers a lot of what I was experiencing in working with energy down in Albuquerque this week. So according to some spiritual schools and different traditions, human beings have three centers of consciousness. We are familiar with the head as a center of consciousness. In our culture, we see the brain as the primary center of consciousness, and for some folks, maybe even the only center of consciousness. And so in our human body, this center of consciousness for the brain part of it, the head part of it, in the vernacular, to have brains, means to be intelligent. Intelligence generally refers to spatial, analytical, knowledge, verbal intelligence, so to speak. Yet, many teachings say that we have other brains in the body that are just as intelligent as the head brain. A second recognized center of consciousness is located near the heart. This is the center of emotional intelligence. The language of this center is that of desire, of feeling nature. It significantly influences the way that we relate to others. Oftentimes, you'll notice when you come into contact with someone that before you even say anything, there's a sense, isn't there? There's an energy that gets exchanged before words are even uttered. And a third center of this consciousness, or this third center of consciousness, is located in the belly, just below the navel. In Qigong, in Tai Chi, in Tai Chi Cha, this is what we're working with. It is known as the Dantian, the Dantian. And this is a completely different center of consciousness that we are oftentimes unfamiliar with. This third center of consciousness is the center of the body's intelligence. The body's intelligence. It is the center of instinct and movement. The body usually learns more slowly than the other centers, but it rarely forgets what it has learned. There's a wonderful book out called The Body Keeps the Score. It's a fabulous book, and it really gets to the crux of this idea of this body intelligence. And I have had the opportunity to work with folks in various settings, sometimes in hospital settings, and people who have had a surgery. They kind of go on and chatter about how, I was completely unconscious, and yet there is an unease. there is something that they're struggling with. And so oftentimes we will go into meditation and we will bring awareness to the incision itself. And we'll hold the body, we'll nurture and love the body for what it has been through, because it remembers. And oftentimes there's a release. And they actually grieve for the body, for that part of the body that was cut upon. It remembers. It knows. And so we can purify it, we can process, we can help the body heal in other ways than just a topical bandage or some ointments or an occasional check by a doctor. These centers often function independently of one another. Learning in one center may have little influence on the other centers. For example, the head center might understand all of the principles and techniques needed to ride a bicycle. I can read all about it. I can watch videos. I can notice all the steps, but nothing happens until you actually get on the bicycle. And you'll know, it's kind of like, if you're needing medical assistance, you want to know, did you watch a video on this, or have you actually done this before? So we may understand how to ride a bicycle, how to scuba dive, but we don't necessarily know how to ride a bicycle. The body has not learned yet. Those of you in the arts or perhaps in music understand how that muscle memory, we call it, right? Athletes and musicians, they run the scales not so much so that they can know the scales, but so that they can embody the scales, so to speak. The body itself learns by practice, which is much of why we call this what we do a practice, because we're constantly bringing our awareness to the feeling nature of this encounter, of this moment. It's not about the thoughts you have around a feeling of pain or discomfort or dis-ease. It is not the thoughts about that. It's working directly with that. And so, likewise, the heart center learns differently than the head center learns. Our heart kind of has a mind of its own. How many movies, songs, and poems about love is blind, right? So, I'm getting a lot of hallelujahs there. People going, oh yeah. So the heart learns differently and kind of has a mind of its own. It learns primarily by relating to others, not by intellectual understanding. It has its own language, the heart does, and it has its own logic. Even Shakespeare reminds us by saying that love and reason seldom keep company. So for us to become a whole person, these three centers must learn to work together. And yet each must also have a certain degree of autonomy. Without proper autonomy, these centers may contaminate each other. For example, if the head center and the heart center are not autonomous, then our desires and emotions may contaminate our thinking and our reasoning process. The emotions, how many times have we been caught deep in emotions and just can't think clearly? The decisions come out muddled or cause more harm and problems than was originally there. We may not be able to think clearly and might have difficulty discerning what we want or how we really feel about something. Conversely, if the head contaminates the heart center, then we may be unaware of our emotions and unable to express them in a healthy, constructive way. Finding practices that exercise each of these centers individually can help each center to develop healthy autonomy. And it can help us as practitioners to begin to relate to and become aware of what's happening right now. What center has actually come forth and is exerting itself or asserting itself, perhaps over the others? Reading, study, discussion, problem solvings, and mindfulness practice are all ways of engaging the head center and becoming fully aware of how it operates, what comes up, what arises. Oftentimes, when I'm talking with members of the Sangha, the heart center has asserted itself, but they're caught up in the thoughts about the feelings and emotions and completely unaware of what emotion has arisen. And so therefore are trying to deal with it on a head level instead of a heart level. And that creates more suffering and more pain. In fact, they get caught in a feedback loop where the pain generates more thoughts. The thoughts then exacerbate the pain, and they get stuck in this because they're trying to work with the heart on a head level, and that doesn't work. And so we work with these different practices to understand what's going on a head level. And so from there, we can now work with what kinds of practices and techniques help us to become more familiar with the heart. What practices help us to become aware of when the heart center of consciousness is asserting itself. So for example, our loving kindness practices that we do at the end of every service is an expression of the heart. It is helping us to bring awareness to the heart center and how it is expressing itself in this moment. Chanting is a heart practice. Volunteering. As we do different things, making sure that we are doing it for the benefit of all beings in all places. Taking it away from, oh, I'm getting a gold star because I'm volunteering here at the soup kitchen. Letting go of that selfing and looking at the faces deeply, looking into the eyes of those that you are being of service to, smiling at the panhandler, noticing them, waving at them, connecting with them. These are heart practices, and these kinds of devotional practices all activate the heart center. And coming back now to the Dantian, sometimes in certain traditions I've heard it called the core star, the core star. When we cultivate this area, again, this is our area of intuition, our area of instinct. And so how easily do we write off a synchronicity? You think of a friend and then they call. Oh, what a synchronicity. But in a way, we're writing that off. Take a moment, breathe, and notice the sense of awe, A-W-E. The sense of awe of thinking of a friend, and then they call. That sense of awe when you wake up in the morning and you hear the turtle doves or the spring birds. That sense of awe cultivates instinct, body awareness. Things like yoga, qigong, tai chi cha, dancing, ecstatic dance. All of these things are a way to engage the body center and help us to increase our body intelligence. There's knowledge. It's a wonderful thing. And the head helps us to learn, different things and understand things in a different way and to embody and bring into our body different skills. And the heart helps us understand our emotions and our ability to relate with others. And our Dantian, our core star, helps us to develop an understanding of instinct, of body awareness, of movement. And so it is very important to find a practice and to cultivate a practice that integrates all three centers. And some of you know where I'm going. Meditation integrates all three centers. So if you were thinking you were going to get out of today's Sangha without Victor harping on the importance of meditation, nope, not going to happen. Commit to sit, even if it's only 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, or 10 in the morning and 10 at night, whatever works. Commit to sit. Meditation can be a way of integrating the three centers by bringing awareness to each of these centers. Mindfulness of thoughts, mindfulness of desires, mindfulness of emotions and physical sensations can help to integrate these three centers. Mindful movement and mindfully communicating can also support integration. As you engage in each life activity, make it a point to be aware of the three centers and to be aware of which center is most activated in each moment. They're constantly lighting up like a traffic light. Oh. There's your bell of mindfulness. Every time you come to a traffic light, instead of going, dang it, I'm in such a hurry, instead, see the three centers of consciousness. Take a moment to experience the consciousness center of mind, the center of the heart, and the core star, the Dantian, that body consciousness. So let every traffic light remind you, and take a breath and meditate for just a few seconds or until the guy behind you honks. And bring mindfulness to those three centers. Spiritual evolution is a holistic endeavor which involves development and integration of all the centers of consciousness. It requires us to consciously evolve in every arena of our life, of our work, of our relationships, our finances, at our jobs. It has been said that nothing is beyond the scope of our practice. So thank you for sharing your practice with all of us here today, sharing your heart and your presence. Thank you.